So, breaking news, guys. Caitlin Clark, the face of the Indiana Fever, in a lot of ways the face of the WNBA, is officially out with an injury. And not just that, not just is she out for an injury, then she'll be out for maybe a day or two, or maybe a game or two. No, she's expected to miss at least the next 2 weeks with a left quad strain. The Indiana Fever put out a statement earlier today. It was a very short statement, but it said the Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark has suffered a left quadricep strain and will be out a minimum of 2 weeks, the team announced today. Further updates will be provided as available following reevaluation. So that went out there, and I saw it, and I was like, OMG, this is not good. So let's talk about what we know, what this means for Indiana, and what's next for one of the biggest names in the entirety. This is the same leg, for those who remember, this is the same exact leg that she had issues with during preseason. Remember when she sat out the in a preseason game against the Washington Mystics? She sat out and she was like, oh, it's tightness in her quad. Well, it's more serious now, right? So this is the same quad as before, but it has reared its ugly head again. And here's the deal. The thing that you all have to kind of keep in mind is that Caitlin Clark is one of the most healthiest women's basketball players out there. This is someone who does not get hurt, really. She really does not get hurt. She has never missed a game, a regular season game. She's never missed a regular season game in her entire, short WNBA career, but also her entire Iowa career as well. She doesn't miss, right? She doesn't sit out. She doesn't really get hurt like that. She just is good. But this is someone, again, was like 180 something straight games that she has played in, that she's not sat out in because she's been healthy. That's pretty healthy, right? You know, this is someone who had a fantastic streak going, and unfortunately that streak is now over. Now, whether or not we'll find out exactly when this most recent flare-up of this left quad strain, like when exactly it happened, we don't know. Now, could it have happened during the Indiana Fever's most recent game against the New York Liberty? Possibly, but as of right now, we have not heard anything official from the Indiana Fever about specifically when this injury happened. And we also don't know if maybe this is something that, yes, she dealt with in preseason, but maybe something that just continued to get bigger and bigger and bigger as the regular season has started. And maybe she's just been playing through it. And maybe now it's like, actually, no, this is too much. You can't play through it. We don't know. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know specifically about this injury. But, you know, it's what we do know is it's not good. So a question mark is, what games will she miss? Well, as of right now, she's going to miss a guarantee of 4 games. So here is the schedule for the next 2 weeks. So Caitlin will miss the game against the Washington Mystics. Well, 2 games actually against the Washington Mystics. One on the 28th and on June the 9th. We'll also see her miss the game on May the 30th against the Connecticut Sun, and June the 7th game against the Chicago Sky. So those are the games initially that she will be missing. And the good thing about these games is that these are pretty winnable games. Like, I think the Connecticut Sun game and probably the Chicago Sky game are wins or could be wins for the Indiana Fever, even without Caitlin. The games against the Washington Mystics, I think that's a little bit of a not quite sure whether or not, she's like whether or not her absence is going to be that huge of a difference. That's a question mark on that Washington Mystics game. But, you know, worst case scenario possibly is that they go 2 wins, 2 losses during this time where Caitlin will be out. So she'll miss 4 games for sure in those 2 weeks. And we'll kind of see what happens there. She'll be reevaluated. And possibly, you know, if they say that actually you need more time, maybe she's out for longer. We don't know. That is something that we don't know right now. Also, guys, if y'all could make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for this video. Again, I'm just really quickly hopping on. I saw the news come through and I was like, oh man, let me get a script together. Let me kind of walk through some stuff to let you all know what is happening, because yeah, this is this is breaking news because, again, when it comes to the business of women's basketball, Caitlin Clark is the most important name. It just is, you know. Not even talking about her impact on the Indiana Fever. This is just a big deal. So Caitlin's out for 4 games, maybe more. What happens? What happens next? Who steps up? Or actually, I should say, what does this mean for the Indiana Fever? Well, for the Indiana Fever, this is not good, right? This is not good at all because Caitlin, in a lot of ways, is the engine that the Indiana Fever run on. Caitlin is, in a lot of ways, the head of the snake that starts everything for the Indiana Fever, right? So this is a gut punch to this team as a whole because Caitlin averages 19 points a game. She averages 9.3 assists per game, which is is at the top of the WNBA right now in terms of stats. So Caitlin is absolutely doing her thing, So 19 points a game, 9.3 assists per game. She leads her team and the league in that stat. Also, she's averaging around 6 rebounds a game as well, but not just the numbers. Not only are they just losing someone who brings a lot of numbers for them, she is the person that the offense runs through. Now, we've seen actually recently how Stephanie White has been trying to see what Caitlin looks like off ball. And also, it makes me wonder why exactly Stephanie White was trying to have Caitlin play off ball, because I wonder if part of this is maybe this has been flaring up for a decent while, and maybe Stephanie White was like, you know what, let me try to lessen your load, and maybe if we have you off ball and we have you do a little bit less on the court, maybe that can keep you out there longer. Maybe that will not have this thing flare up. So that's just a question mark. That's just a question mark that when I saw this come through, I was thinking what if these last couple of games, maybe Stephanie White has been trying to preserve Caitlin on the court with that strain, right? Maybe that's a question mark that we don't actually know. But that's something to have in mind. Of course, Caitlin plays a lot of minutes, a whole bunch of minutes, but I wonder if that off ball at times was an attempt to keep her out there longer. So anyway, Caitlin does a lot for the team. And this year, this stat comes from ESPN. I forgot specifically who from ESPN said this, but someone said that this season so far, we don't have that much to go by, but for the 4 games we've seen so far this season for the Indiana Fever, the offensive rating for the Indiana Fever with Caitlin on the court is 107.5. 107.5. That's their offensive rating when Caitlin is on the court. But when Caitlin is off the court, it plummets to 82.2. All right, 107.5 WGCI. If y'all don't know, that's a radio signal for WGCI. It's a radio station. Anyway, 107.5, and it plummets to 82.2. That is not sustainable, guys. The effectiveness of this team dropping down so substantially. Of course, it makes sense because, of course, Caitlin's awesome and she does a lot of awesome stuff. But that's not good for this team. And with these 4 games, they're going to have to make sure that they are still very, very effective on the basketball court without Caitlin. Again, guys, my thought was that, and it seems like some of y'all may agree with that as well. May think that's a possibility that it could be her off-ball play could be because Stephanie White was trying to preserve her. Basically, the offensive drop-off when Caitlin is off the floor is not good for Indiana, and now they have to figure out a way to win games without their playmaker. So, the question is, who steps up? Who steps up for this team? Well, in my opinion, this is going to be a committee approach because not one person, in my opinion, can fill the shoes of a player like a Caitlin Clark. So, everybody has to do a little bit of everything. So, number one, this means that this is going to lead to more minutes for a player like a Sydney Colson. So Sydney Colson, she is a veteran in the WNBA. she is someone who has been with the Las Vegas Aces for a long time. She's a vet's vet. She's been in the WNBA. She knows how to navigate being someone who comes off the bench and plays. Also, she can start here and now. And I think while I don't think she's going to start, she might actually. But while it may not be a guarantee that she starts, it's a guarantee that Sydney Colson will get a lot of minutes. She will get a lot of minutes. And they need her not only to look for her shot now and then, but they also need her to run the floor, to play playmaker. Of course, she's not going to, average 9 assists or anything like that. But they do need her to come on the court, get this team about, 3, 4, 5 assists while she's in there, keeping the turnovers to a low, and just trying to make some stuff happen. All right, so Sydney Colson, definitely going to get more minutes. Kelsey Mitchell I have on this list not because Kelsey is going to be point guard, because Kelsey Mitchell is not a point guard, not at all. But I do see her needing to step up a little bit more. Right now, she's already given this team very, very solid minutes. Very, very good minutes, actually. Not even solid. Good minutes, right? She's averaging at this point 17 points a game. And she can pass it here every now and then, but she's not a passer. Not really a passer. She's more of a shooter. And so that's something to note. She is going to need to step up, not in terms of passing, but in terms of shooting that basketball. All right, they're going to need her to be way more effective. Okay, now she's already very effective, but they're going to need more from a player like a Kelsey Mitchell. They're going to need better efficiency. She's already at about 45% in terms of efficiency, but they're going to need more 3-point shooting. They're going to need a little bit more of everything, not as a point guard, but in terms of Kelsey Mitchell's shooting. Right. So another player that that this Indiana Fever team is going to need to step up is, I would say, both Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall. The reason why I put them together is because I saw this photo of them two together, and I just thought it was a funny photo because they do look alike. They really do look alike. If you just were glancing at this, a quick glance, you'd be like, oh, are they sisters? They're not sisters, but anyway, that's why I picked this particular photo. Anyway, I'm going to put them together because they've Lexi Hall has had a expanded role, especially as the season has gone on. She's now, she's been rocking out with this team. Also, Sophie Cunningham, brand new to this team. She was out initially to start the season, but now she's back. Both of these players are going to see an expanded role on this team because I think both are going to need to do both. They're going to need to knock down threes. They're also going to need to facilitate when it makes sense. Again, neither one of these players are point guard either. But when it makes sense, facilitate. But Stephanie White is going to need these players to step up, and knock down a basketball, knock down shots, knock down way more shots. Now, in terms of scoring right now, Lexi Hall is averaging around 10 points a game. And through 2 games so far, because, again, she missed 2 games, Sophie Cunningham is averaging 7, but you're going to need more from both of these players. All right. So for Sydney Colson, you need her to facilitate more and then look for her shot. For Kelsey Mitchell, we need more shots from you. From both Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall, we need more shots from you. And we, as in, if I'm the Indiana Fever, that's what I'm saying. That's what we need. Right. And for DeWanna Bonner, the reason why I put her on here, not because DeWanna Bonner is a facilitator, not that she's not going to be the point guard for this team, not at all. But the reason why I put her on this, is because this team needs DeWanna Bonner to be DeWanna Bonner of last year. All right. So far this year, DeWanna has struggled quite a bit. She has struggled. Yes, she got the now she's number 3 all time in points scored in the WNBA, and that's great. That's fantastic. But to be honest with you, all season she has struggled. This is someone who last year was averaging 15 points a game for Connecticut, and she played 31 minutes. She played 31 minutes for Connecticut last year, and she averaged 15 points. And this year she is playing around 21 minutes a game, and she's only averaging 2.5 points a game. That is not good for a player of DeWanna Bonner's stature. And the worst thing about it is last year, DeWanna Bonner shot around 41% from the field. 41% from the field. This year, she is averaging 12.5% from the field. She's shooting 12.5% from the field. That's horrible. And we all know that DeWanna Bonner is a better player than that. We all know that. Yeah, sure, she's an older player. Sure, she's 37. However, she still has a whole lot more to give, in my opinion. Definitely more than 12.5% from the field and around 2.5 points a game. So this Indiana Fever team needs DeWanna Bonner to step up and be more of that Connecticut Sun version of DeWanna Bonner. All right. So yeah, that's my thoughts there. So I would say those 5 players definitely need to step up. Of course, everybody else has to step up. Of course, everybody on the team has to pick up their game. But I specifically wanted to call out these 5 players because more than anybody, they really do need to step up. Let's zoom out and let's look at the big picture, because on this channel, I try my best to not just give you all like just the news. I try to like zoom out and tell you what else is happening, the bigger picture overall. So let's do that. Let's look at the big picture about this injury for Caitlin, because this is not just a typical injury. I would say this is like a different thing. Now for Caitlin, number one, this is kind of unfamiliar territory. This is someone who has never been hurt like this before, where she's had to miss significant amount of games. Like she hasn't missed any games, any regular season. Keep in mind, regular season. So don't be like, oh, she just missed the preseason game. She hasn't missed any regular season WNBA or college game until now. All right, so for her, this is unfamiliar territory. There is a mental adjustment to, to being a cheerleader on the sidelines for the entire game in street clothes instead of being the centerpiece on the court running your team. Right? There is a difference. There is a mental toll that might take. That's something to note. I don't understand why this is doing this. Anyway, so there's a toll that might take. And here's the deal. More important. Well, not more important, but also very significant thing. To just sort of look at the big picture is the fact that for the WNBA, there's no sugarcoating this. This is a blow for the WNBA. It is. This is a blow. All right. This is a blow to the WNBA because Caitlin Clark, like it or not, acknowledge it or not, it's true. She is a driving force for record viewership, for fan engagement, and the WNBA has significantly benefited from Caitlin being on the floor, whether that's merch sales, whether that's just attendance at games and having teams move the games to have a bigger arena. All that stuff is huge. But she's human. Caitlin Clark is a human, which means humans get injured. And her health has to come first, of course. I don't think this is going to be one of those instances where we see her rush back or anything. The rushing back would be a disaster because what the Indian Fever are trying to do and whatnot. So, but her being out is a huge loss for the league. And this isn't me, caping for her or the Fever. It's just true. It's just an observable fact, right? And so, will we see some of the viewership lower? Sure, I think we will. Will we see some people not watch because they don't want to? Well, yeah. I think that's possible. Now, is it important to showcase more people so when one player gets hurt, that doesn't happen? Yes, W.S. Judah is absolutely right. I don't know why it keeps doing this. All right, W.S. Judah says that's why they need to spread the wealth and acknowledge all the talented women in the league. Yeah, because you don't want the idea that one person goes down and then things change. So I think W.S. Judah is right. I think you're spot on. I think you're absolutely spot on. And for the Fever, right now this team is 2-2. Next 8 games, there's a significant amount of those games that are winnable. But without Caitlin Clark, the margin of error is like, is this close? Very, very close. Very, very close margin of error for the upcoming games for this squad. And so, yeah, this is where we kind of learn what team this Indiana Fever squad really is and who they really have on their squad. That's going to be something that we are going to take a look at. So what's next? Well, Caitlin Clark will be reevaluated likely on June the 9th. On June the 10th, there's a game against the Atlanta Dream. Possibly Caitlin returns for that. Maybe she's not going to return for that. We don't know at this exact moment. And then there's going to be a big game against the the New York Liberty as well. And so yeah, there's some question marks about specifically when she will be back, but she will be reevaluated later on. So again, June the 10th game against Atlanta, June the 14th game against New York, and June the 17th game against the Connecticut Sun. That's what's next. We'll see where she is at after that. Okay. So yeah, that's something to know. We will be watching closely to see how Caitlin recovers to her quad strain, and also how the Indiana Fever adapt. The worst thing that can happen is to rush her back when she's not 100%. Here's the deal. We are still very, very early in the season, and the Indiana Fever, they have playoff championship aspirations, right? And so the idea of rushing her back early in the season doesn't totally make sense. If I'm them, I'm saying, hey, we gonna wait till you 95 to 100%, and then you can come back. Because until then, there's no need. There is no need. Let's make sure you're back healthy and ready to go. And I'll say this, if Indiana stays strong during this stretch of games that they're about to go through, this actually might be a blessing in disguise, because you're going to be building depth now that may pay off later in July and August. So something to know. And of course for the playoffs. So yeah, guys, that is the news. That is the news that I wanted to share with you all. Caitlin Clark is out with a quad strain on this Indiana Fever season. Just got a little bit more complicated, but the story isn't over. We'll kind of see as things evolve, as these next 2 weeks happen, what happens to the Fever, how they do on the court, ultimately how everybody else responds to that. But yeah, this is a blow for the W. This is not great for the W, as someone who is very invested in the future of women's sports and women's basketball in particular. Like, I think it's very clear to acknowledge how big of a thing this is. And I hope that people still watch. I hope that people still go to games that the Fever are playing in. I hope that some of the seats that haven't been sold yet, yeah, sure, they'll probably go down in price, but maybe that'll get more people to get butts in seats. So I'm just hoping that all is not lost just because one player isn't playing when it comes to the Indiana Fever. So yeah, if you already had tickets to go to Indiana Fever games, still go. If you were planning on watching the games, if you watched their games so far this year, keep watching, because here's the deal. One player is not the entire WNBA. And yes, of course, she's in a lot of ways the face of the league, in a lot of ways the face of the WNBA, and all of that stuff. That's very true. Very, very true. But also, there is a lot of other people and names and faces that deserve some awesome recognition as well. So yeah, something to think about. Let me know in the chat what your thoughts are about this whole thing. Do you think this is just a short setback for Caitlin and the Fever, or do you think this is a possible warning sign for this season for the WNBA?